Welcome back to Icons of Change, where we dive into the lives of the extraordinary individuals who shaped history. Today, we're exploring the legacy of one of the most powerful voices in the fight for women's rights, Susan B. Anthony. She spent over 50 years dedicated to the cause of gender equality, championing women's suffrage and social reform. Did you know Susan B. Anthony was arrested for voting illegally in 1872? We'll talk about how this act of civil disobedience became a pivotal moment in the women's rights movement. Stick around as we unpack her incredible journey and lasting influence. Susan B. Anthony was one of the most influential figures in the American women's rights movement, devoting over 50 years to the fight for gender equality and women's suffrage. Born in 1820 into a Quaker family committed to social reform, Anthony was raised with a strong sense of justice and a belief in the equality of all people. These values shaped her lifelong dedication to social causes, particularly the fight for women's right to vote. In 1869, recognizing the need for a focused and organized effort to secure voting rights for women, Anthony co-founded the National Woman Suffrage Association, NWSA, with her close ally, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The NWSA sought to achieve women's suffrage through a federal constitutional amendment, distinguishing itself from other organizations that aimed to secure the vote through state legislatures. Anthony and Stanton's partnership was pivotal in shaping the women's rights movement, with Anthony focusing on organizing, lobbying, and speaking, while Stanton often provided the intellectual framework for their initiatives. Anthony's advocacy was not limited to women's suffrage. She was also a fervent supporter of the abolition of slavery and was active in the temperance movement, which sought to reduce or eliminate the consumption of alcohol. Her commitment to abolition led her to work closely with other reformers, like Frederick Douglass, and she believed that the fight for racial equality was inseparable from the struggle for women's rights. Her work in the temperance movement further fueled her realization that women needed the right to vote to have a voice in the laws that affected their lives, including those regulating alcohol. Throughout her career, Anthony traveled extensively, delivering speeches that inspired countless women and men to join the suffrage movement. She was known for her powerful oratory and her ability to galvanize support, even in the face of hostility and opposition. Anthony organized and attended numerous rallies, lobbied politicians, and collected thousands of signatures on petitions advocating for women's rights. Her tireless efforts helped build a national movement that would eventually lead to significant legal changes. One of the most notable episodes in Anthony's life occurred in 1872 when she decided to challenge the law by casting a vote in the presidential election, despite knowing it was illegal for women to do so. Her arrest and subsequent trial for this act of civil disobedience drew national attention to the issue of women's suffrage. Anthony argued passionately in her defense, insisting that the right to vote was guaranteed to all citizens under the Constitution. Although she was ultimately convicted and fined, a fine she refused to pay, the trial helped to highlight the absurdity and injustice of denying women the vote. Despite facing numerous setbacks, including the slow pace of change and frequent opposition, Anthony remained unwavering in her commitment to women's rights. She continued to campaign for suffrage until her death in 1906, even as the movement faced internal divisions and external challenges. Anthony's relentless advocacy and organizational skills were crucial in laying the groundwork for the eventual passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920, which granted women the right to vote. Although she did not live to see this triumph, the amendment is often referred to as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment in recognition of her pivotal role in making it a reality. Anthony's impact extended beyond suffrage. She was a staunch advocate for broader social reforms, including labor rights and educational opportunities for women. She believed in the importance of economic independence and education as tools for women's empowerment, and she supported various initiatives aimed at improving the lives of working women. Her work in these areas helped to advance the cause of gender equality and set the stage for future reforms. Susan B. Anthony's legacy as a leader of the women's rights movement and a champion of social justice continues to inspire activists today. Her life's work demonstrates the power of perseverance and the impact that one determined individual can have in challenging the status quo and driving social change. Anthony's contributions to the fight for women's suffrage and her broader efforts to promote equality have left an indelible mark on American history, making her one of the most significant social reformers of the 19th century. Susan B. Anthony's relentless fight for women's suffrage laid the foundation for the 19th Amendment, changing the course of American history forever. Her story reminds us that perseverance and courage can drive social change, even when the odds are stacked against us. If you enjoyed learning about this remarkable woman, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video in our Icons of Change series, where we'll be exploring the life of another trailblazer, Harriet Tubman, the fearless conductor of the Underground Railroad. Want to know how Harriet Tubman led over 70 slaves to freedom and became one of the most feared figures in the South? Make sure to join us in the next video.